Hello and welcome back to another video, and today we are here on GP Bikes to try out the Indian Grand Prix that's going to be on the MotoGP calendar this season at the Buddh International Circuit. And basically in this video just going to do a few laps around the track, sort of talk about the track, its history a little bit, and then I'm going to sort of give my opinions maybe on where I think some of the good passing places might be, how the races might play out. So hope you guys do enjoy the video, and I'll see you down on the track. So here we are then at the track in the pit lane at the Indian Grand Prix. And if you're wondering why we're on a superbike rather than a MotoGP bike, that's just because GP bikes doesn't really have any modern MotoGP mods that are particularly great. So I decided to go with the superbike mod because it's quite a consistent, nice, fun mod, and the lap times are not too dissimilar, so it will give us a pretty good idea. But we'll head out onto the track now. And of course this track is probably best known for Formula 1 back in the day. Hosted 3 F1 races between 2011 and 2013, and if I'm not mistaken, fun stat about that is that Vettel led every single lap that ever occurred here in a race situation. Fastest lap, I think he got pole in all 3 races, so Vettel really dominated this circuit. And then I think there was some sort of tax trouble, so I think that's why the F1 kind of stopped. And pretty much after that there's not really been any international sport at all here really. World Superbike were meant to come here at one point, but it was cancelled. And that's about it really. If you look at the Wikipedia page, there's so many just like, oh, this championship was scheduled to come here and then it was cancelled before the race started, or like, you know, obviously before the race actually happened. So it's littered with that. The only bike racing that's ever really happened here is the Asia Road Race Championship, which means that guess who has the lap record here? Anthony West of all people, which is interesting. On the motorcycle layout at least anyway, he has the lap record. But I think it's a bit of a shame really, because it's actually quite a nice circuit when you start riding around it. Obviously my first couple of laps are going to be a bit shaky because I've not ridden the bike for a while, and I don't ride the Ducati in this pack very much. I've taken the wrong corner there. Last time I played this, you see, we were on the car layout, so it was actually slightly different. So we're not quite got that banked corner, we've got this one on the inside. Now I assume there will be proper curbing there when they come in real life. Of course this is just a GP Bikes mod, and it's probably converted from a car game as well, so that layout probably wasn't actually ever used in the game that it's from, or the mod that it was originally taken from, so that's probably why. But this track, obviously it's built by Tilke. If you didn't realise, it's quite, you know, it's fairly clear. There's a lot of his sort of fingerprints all over this track. You know, a couple of long straights, a few hairpins, a stadium section, a bit of a flowing section in the middle, so all of the Tilkedrome elements there. But to be honest, I don't think that's a bad thing. A lot of people kind of moan about that, but I know that kind of makes all the tracks samey, but they still all feel quite different. And I think it's a good style of racetrack, has a little bit of everything, so it allows all the bikes to sort of perform. Although I do feel like Yamaha are going to have a tough time here, I must say, because there's a couple of long straights. See, obviously we just had the start-finish straight. Then this straight is really long, out of a slow corner, into a slow corner as well. So you've got to get good acceleration out of a slow corner, then have the horsepower down the straight, neither of which the Yamaha really has, and then you're going to be able to brake really late for the actual hairpin itself. So yeah, I do feel like Fabio is going to have a rough time here, and of course Morbidelli as well, but of course usually you see it a bit more as Fabio, with him being a bit closer to the front. But I do think it's got, you know, good potential for some good races. We've seen some good races at the recent sort of Asian additions to the calendar, such as Chang, for example. Obviously, the last race we had was a wet race, it was a bit different, but the previous 2 dry races we had last corner showdowns, Dovi Marquez and Quartararo Marquez. So, you know, these kind of circuits that we've been coming to recently seem to have done pretty well, and I think this kind of has some of those same elements. It'll definitely have the climate element, I imagine, so the track will be pretty greasy come race day, so it'll be a bit of an attritional one. It'll be tricky. Some bikes won't like it, some bikes will love it, some riders will hate it, some riders will love it, you know, just the same old how it is. I think some of the Southeast Asian riders might benefit. They tend to go quite well at these sort of circuits, you know, like Chang and Sepang, and the track's way is really hot and greasy, and it's almost like riding on a wet track. That's how different it is. But you can see we've done a couple of laps here. We're not really pushing a limit at all. I'm 5 seconds underneath my previous time, which I guess makes sense because I came from the pit lane. But there's still so much time on the table because the lap record here I think is a 55. which is on a 600 as well. I forgot to mention that before. Anthony West on the 600 in the Asia Road Race Championship. So We are 2 seconds off a 600 time on a V4R currently. But of course I've not been particularly pushing. I'll probably just do a few laps, keep talking, and then I might just do a push lap at the end, just to show you, you know, what the track looks like in anger. Now I have actually done a couple of races around here with some friends on this game, and it does seem to provide the good racing. So like I was saying before, obviously there's the potential of it, but there's some good overtaking opportunities really. There's some hard braking zones. This one will be interesting, this hairpin here, because I feel like it's a good place to try and send it, especially if you want to do Caddy, for example, and you can brake super late. But at least in this mod, it's really bumpy on the inside, so if you're trying on the inside, the bike just starts hopping around, and like, you actually can't really brake later than the guy on the outside, because it's so smooth on the outside, you can just brake a lot later. Because if you try and brake off to the same points, on the inside you'll just crash. Whether it's like that in real life or not, I hope it's not, but I mean, I can't be sure. Obviously, again, this is just a mod for a game, so I'm not going to talk about the track surface too much. Obviously, the corner layout, yeah, fair enough, they're probably going to be pretty bang on, but the track surface, you know, this could be from anywhere. And where am I even going? What was that? I was running way too hot. I mean, to be honest, I think this would be a better corner. I don't really like the other one. I think it's a bit too tight. Every other corner is the same as the car layout, it seems. It's just that one corner is different on the motorcycle layout. So I have no idea why they kind of particularly decided to do that. Maybe that high-speed corner is too close to the barriers, and it's a bit dangerous for the bikes. That's probably what it is, to be fair. But the actual layout of the other corner is definitely better. But yeah, there's a few like little hairpins, obviously like the one I mentioned before. It's kind of difficult to pass in there on the game, but in real life it's probably not too bad. You got turn 1, there's an opportunity here. If you're feeling brave, sort of up towards turn 3 when we get there in a minute, but it's so tight, it's unbelievable. I feel like this actually could be a bit of a Yamaha section there, just trying to carry the speed through turn 2. But here, I mean, you could try and move here, but it's going to be a block pass. It's going to be a last lap kind of pass, or a desperation kind of pass to pass somebody, or, you know, to prove a point, because there's going to be a long straight away after, so if you kind of run a bit wide, you're definitely going to get repassed. So I think there could be some hard racing here, definitely, because there's a lot of dive bomb opportunities. Those are sort of the main sections, and then as you come towards the end of the lap, again, there's a couple of hairpins where you can sort of try and pull up past, but the flowing section in this sort of stadium, that's going to be difficult to pass as we get there, because it's kind of one line, the way you flow through. Maybe we could see a Fabio Quartararo sort of Austria-style pass, like he did to Jack Miller, like where he just sort of gets on the gas earlier than somebody because his bike turns so much better, and just sort of maybe around the outside here and up the inside to the next one. But it will be tough, it really will. Because I just can't, unless you're on a Yamaha, because it's the only inline 4 left, isn't it? I've gone off this bloody corner 2 laps in a row now. But yeah, I cannot see a pass coming in that middle section unless you're on a, you know, an inline 4 trying to pass a V4 really. All the other guys got massive tyre troubles or has made a huge mistake or something, because, again, it just seems so one line. Through here, you could probably maybe pass up into that right-hander. Obviously down towards here again, there's another dive bomb opportunity. And then as you come towards the last corner, it is a great last corner set up for a last lap, you know, scrap. You're right behind your rival, you just jink to the inside like this, you just aim for the apex, and you just really hope you get it stopped. Really like Chang. It's one of those ones where you're definitely going to go wide if you try it, but someone will try it at some point, and it will be great to see. Because I feel like we've been sort of lacking some last corner scraps in MotoGP lately. Obviously, Bastianini and Bagnaia gave us some pretty good last lap scraps in 2022, but never quite to the last corner. Misano was close, but you're never going to pass into Misano corner. You're just going to end up like Iannone and Polo Spargaro in the gravel. That, of course, referencing the fact that they did that to each other at the corner. I'm not saying that they crash or anything like that, just to be clear. But yeah, I'm quite looking forward to the Indian Grand Prix. You have to let me know what you guys think in the comments, because I know there's actually quite a few of my subscribers are actually from India, so it'd be interesting to hear, you know, what you think about the race, and how, you know, if you heard anything about ticket prices, all that kind of stuff, because I know Indonesia, for example, obviously they went to Indonesia for the first time in 2022. It was basically impossible for any local people to go there, because the island they picked was a tourist island, so that put a lot of the population off immediately, because if you didn't know, Indonesia is actually sort of like a group of islands, sort of one country. So a lot of the people are on one island, they either can't afford or just, you know, can't get there just because it's like logistically difficult to get there or whatever. And then the locals actually on the island that the race was on, the ticket prices were way out of their price range, so they made it very difficult for any actual Indonesian fans to go there, as far as I'm aware. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the impression that I got. That's what I heard from, you know, some Indonesian people I did know at the time. So yeah, that was a shame. So I'm hoping the Indian Grand Prix isn't like that. So if you do know, let me know. Hopefully the ticket prices are reasonable. Yeah, because I know there was some law changes in India that allowed motorsport to be classed as entertainment, as a sport rather than entertainment, so they don't have to pay tax. I think that was part of the problem with the F1 in the first place. So hopefully the ticket prices are, you know, good, because it'd be nice to see a packed stand here, because, you know, the MotoGP is just so big in Southeast Asia, right? Everywhere, you know, India, Malaysia, Indonesia, everywhere basically Southeast Asia, you know, Vietnam. It's huge. You know, they live and breathe MotoGP, and for them to all like have their own races would be just great. And India, you know, just is such a huge country as well. So many people as well. If you're not going to India, you know, locking off so many people. So it'd be great to see an Indian Grand Prix. So you have to let me know what you guys think of it. And I'm really hoping that it will be a good competitive race in all three classes. Also, I'm hoping that it's not going to be like a shambles, because again, like I was saying earlier, of course, it's not been used for a good 10 years effectively. It's been a couple of races here and there, but, you know, it's not been in heavy use. So I'm hoping that the surface is good when they get there, because we've got to some tracks before where the surface has been absolutely terrible, because either it's not been ran on, it's just like really old, because I think the track was constructed in like 2009. So if it's not been resurfaced since then the tarmac is going to be quite bad, a bit like how Brno was a couple of years ago. Although, of course, yeah, lack of running will probably damage it less, but also just sitting there without having any running on it damages the track too. So I'm really hoping that everything just goes smoothly, because even Indonesia this year, the I know that was a different situation because it was a new tarmac, but, you know, they could very well decide to do the same thing here. That was, you know, not really good enough, the conditions there, so I'm hoping we don't get something similar. Hopefully it just, everything goes really well. But I think I might go for a bit of a push lap now, because you can see I've improved my time quite a lot over the last couple of laps, as I've kind of been pushing the braking sense a bit more. So I think I'll try and do a lap in silence to see what I can do. So that wasn't the most ideal lap. There's definitely some time on the table. You saw I went really wide in turn 1, for example. Had lots of wheelies on the back straight. The last corner wasn't great, but overall wasn't too bad of a lap. You can see I did improve by like a second, so that does show when you start to push a little bit, you can find the lap time. But I think that's where I probably will end off this video. We've done quite a few laps now. Also, we spoke about the history of the track. I've, given my opinions on what I think, where the passing places are going to be, which manufacturers I think are probably struggle. The Yamaha mainly. I think the V4s will be alright. I think this could be a bit of a Ducati-style circuit, but then that's pretty much the same for every track we go to nowadays, the Ducati just being such a good motorcycle. Again, let me know what you guys think of the Indian Grand Prix below, especially if you are from India. It'd be great to hear from you, how the situation is over there, ticket prices, everything else, logistically. If you know any more about the track as well, because of course I've said as much as I know about it, but especially if you know about the surface and things like that, it'd be great to hear. And of course, if you're not from India as well, just let me know what you think of the Indian Grand Prix, because of course it's always good to see new Grand Prix on the calendar. But either way, I hope you did enjoy that video. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you all stay safe, and I shall see you in the next one.